in the beginning, God made the heavens and the earth. But the truth is, it's actually the middle of the movie. The story begins before that. We know that from Kabbalah. We know that from Jewish mysticism, which explains that really what we call the beginning of history is really the beginning of physical history. But spiritual history preceded that and is the basis of all that's going to happen after creation. So what happened? What happened before creation actually took place? The biggest dilemma in making creation and then mankind after that is free will, because we're told that one of the most important principles of life in this world is the concept of free will. The Torah says, "B'charta b'chayim," choose life that you may live, telling us that we have free will. And we're held accountable for the choices that we make. The problem with free will is that how can you have it if the Almighty, God Himself, is infinite and everything exists within Him? For free will to be able to exist, you have to have the existence of evil. Because if there's no evil, if it's all good, what are you choosing? How do you have evil within a world that is completely good? Because this entire world exists inside of God. And God is completely good. In order to make free will possible and to make evil possible so that free will can exist, God went through a process or created a process that allowed the possibility of evil to exist. In Kabbalah, this concept is called Shviras HaKelim, the breaking of the vessels. Kabbalah explains that the earth that we're talking about pre-creation is not the same earth we're talking about post-creation. We call it terra firma. The ground that we walk on, that was made when God said in the beginning that there should be heaven and earth. But the actual earth prior to creation was a spiritual reality. And it was made up of a mechanism called a sphera. And spheres are basically the means that God uses to filter His light in order to make creation possible, that the finite should be able to exist within the infinite. But if He had made the world perfect from the beginning, there'd be nothing to fix up, nothing to break, nothing to fix, and therefore no point in having free will. So therefore, prior to creation, God made the world the way He wanted it to be, but not physical. Not the world that we're used to, not that people think there were many worlds before ours, but a spiritual reality. And He took that and then He broke that. That's called the breaking of the vessels. God was preparing creation that man should be able to exist. So in order for evil to exist, later on for us, He had to create a pre-creation state of existence that was null and void and chaotic. That's what the second verse, which is really the first verse, is telling us. From that, God built creation. And because He did, there's an inherent imperfection in creation, a perfect imperfection. Perfect because this is what God wanted, this is what God designed. Imperfection because we see, look at the world around us. Going back to the Garden of Eden, the very first man made a mistake. How can he make a mistake? God commanded him, do not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Which words didn't you understand? He still made the mistake. And then he was exiled from the Garden of Eden. And then Cain kills his brother Abel shortly after they leave. And the rest is human history, flawed, filled with all kinds of mistakes. Moses comes down from the mountain and he breaks the tablets because he sees the golden calf below. We built the first temple and the first temple was destroyed by the Babylonians, and we built a second temple, and that one was later destroyed by the Romans. And there's been crusades, and there's been pogroms, and there's been all kinds of things taking place in history. Good stuff too. We've accomplished a tremendous amount of good as well, but unfortunately, too much negative stuff. Where's that coming from? How is that possible? Chaos rules the universe. That's the power of Torah, that we were given the opportunity to maintain the Seder of the world by fighting back the chaos, by fighting back the null and the void. It's always there. It's the backdrop of history and creation. And it goes back to before creation. That's when it was all set in motion. That's when God laid the foundation for all of history after that. And that's what we're fighting with all the time. That's what we're struggling with all the time. Trying to maintain the chaos, trying to keep back the null and the void, the tohu vavohu the Torah speaks about. And Reish Lakish is telling us the key to do that. By learning Torah and by living by Torah and making a point of understanding how the Torah is able to rectify history and bring creation into line, that's how we participate in the perfection of creation and of ourselves as well.